Okay, we're starting.
Okay.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. This is Stephen Jackson with Imprintables Warehouse, and you're here for the Great Garment Graphics webinar on Explore the Possibilities using Arlon's products. We're going to go through and talk about the different products that Arlon has and that Imprintables Warehouse carries, what you can do for them, do with them in your business, the differences between cast and calendared, cut-only and print-only films, and go over some of the different specific products and what they can do for you. Like I said, I'm Stephen Jackson with Imprintables Warehouse. I'm a sales rep, technician, and trainer. I specialize in heat transfer and sign products and have a particular emphasis on VersaCams and do a 2-day hands-on workshop with that. Right now, I'm out at the International Sign Association Sign Expo in Las Vegas. It's absolutely gorgeous out here. So for those of you that are down south, I'm sorry for the horrible weather down there and everything, and hope that you're all doing fine down there. But we will get started on the webinar now. There's a little bit of lag on the computer. This is this slide that's coming up. You're going to see Imprintables Warehouse, and then it's got a bunch of different projects on here. And I'm waiting for the screen to update. There it goes. You can see different products in there. We've got the Jamba Juice in the left-hand corner. That's a backlit sign using some of our translucent vinyls from Arlon. We've got a big poster board there, or a banner in the middle with a little girl blowing on a flower. The motorcycle has cut vinyl on it, and it looks like it has some printed vinyl also. You can see in the left-hand bottom corner some cut vinyl that's applied to a vehicle for advertising purposes, along with another backlit sign in the center there, a vehicle wrap, and some more signage for FedEx, Kinko's, and the Taco Bell, which the Taco Bell is both a backlit translucent sign and it's viewable during the day just from standard daylight. So you can see the many different projects you can do. Some of them are the same materials across different projects in there. Okay, we'll go on to the next slide here. It's a little bit of a delay. I apologize for that. And there it goes. Okay, a brief history of Arlon. Arlon's been here for 50 years. Top-notch manufacturer of vinyl films. They started out a lot with their cast films, which we're going to talk about the difference between cast and calendared and the different properties, how they're made and what they can do for you. They've got a wide variety of different materials for sign programs, banners, and all sorts of different projects. They're based in Santa Ana, California. They have a casting and coating facility there in Santa Ana, and they've got a flex manufacturing in San Antonio. These are American-made products. They're made right here in the U.S. It's not foreign made and shipped over. So if you have a particular customer that on their bid or their criteria for their job, it has to be U.S.-made products, this meets the bill for you. So over 52 years in business, was founded in 1958. Widest variety of vinyl decoration methods available. Again, it lists down there the cast and calendared, printed, translucent, opaque films, light management, banner, flex, and awnings. They really cover the entire gamut of anything that you would need for a sign project, be it a banner or a perforated window film or some translucent or even just simple cut film that you're going to apply to a banner. They have the products that you need. And I'm still waiting for the next slide to update here again. Apologize for the lag. I am, like I said, out here in Las Vegas for the trade show, so the internet's a little bit slow for me right now. While we're waiting for that, maybe we can have our first question come on up. And you should be able to see that come up on your screen very shortly here. And it's opening up. The first question is, how many of you are right now using cut films? We'll give that a minute to tally some results. Cut films would be anything that's, say you're just doing a CAD Cut sign film to apply to a vehicle for lettering, or you're applying it to a banner. Anything that's run through something like a GX24 or GCC Expert, a CAD cutter, and you're already applying those films in your business and using them.
Okay, Stephen, we
We'll
do
get
have our
those,
results.
Okay.
We have 58% that's currently using a CAD Cut film and 42% that's not.
Okay, those are some good numbers. We got 58% are currently using the CAD Cut films and 42% are not. Out of the 42 that are not out there, this is a great opportunity for you guys to start seeing what you can make with it. So we're going to talk about CAD Cut versus print and cut now. Two of the major differences. CAD Cut only films, we're going to be taking a single color film, be it say a red, blue, whatever, but the whole film is going to be colored that completely through both sides of it. And you're going to be cutting this with, say, a GX24, like I said before, and applying it to a substrate. The substrate can be anything. It could be a wall, so you're doing decorative lettering in a house. It could be a banner blank, so that the company can put their name and phone number or grand opening or whatever they want on that. And then they're going to, you can also apply that to vehicles, store windows, anything like that. But a CAD Cut only is only a single color. If you want to have multiple colors, you have to layer it. This is very similar to heat transfer, where we layer single cut film, say like an eco film, to a shirt, where we're heat applying it and then we're putting another layer on. With the CAD Cut films for signage, we're going to cut it, we'll mask it, we'll stack the colors one on top of each other using the masking in successive layers. Now you can either do that prior to applying to the substrate that it's going to go on to the final project, say the vehicle door, or you can do it when you're applying it to the vehicle door. So we've got several videos out there and some demonstrations that show you how to do that. And if anybody's looking for more information, they can contact me at the end of the webinar to get more information on how to do that. The print and cut is a little bit different than that. Print and cut materials, they come as a white base for the most part, and we're going to load that into a printer or a printer cutter. This would be like a roll-in VersaCAM. So this allows me to, if I'm say doing a banner, instead of cutting the letters and applying it to the banner, I would be able to do my design in Corel or Illustrator or whatever program I'm doing, and I could have photographs and gradients and just full, beautiful, full process color all the way across this. And we would load that material in, print it directly onto it, and then finish the banner and provide that to our customer. Same goes for something that would be going on, say, the example I used before, a vehicle door. I would be printing onto the graphic film directly from a VersaCAM, and then I would apply that after it's been cut and weeded and masked right to the vehicle, but I don't need to layer anything. So you can see you can produce a lot of the same products with CAD Cut only as you can with the print and cut process, but it's less labor intensive, and I can get much more intense graphics, photographs, or any other process that I want out of that by using the print or print and cut version of that. So we've talked about the products that can be produced. We've talked about the production process. Markets available. There is an unlimited amount of markets available in this. Every customer that you have currently right now with your business has a need for some product that you can produce with either one of these processes. Say one of your customers is a local baseball team, and you're doing shirts for them at this point. Well, they have a need for decals on the back of their cars. I'm sure many of you have seen where they have a, say it's the local baseball stars team is what they call themselves, and they have baseball stars number 12 Johnny, and they want to put it on the back of their vehicle to support their son for it. They can use these for fundraisers. So now you can produce that product and give it to them. Same thing with the print and cut version, where you would be printing and you have more colors available to you. But every single market you have, whether it's a business, an organization, a single person, they can use these products in some manner or another. So many, many markets available to you, from schools to sports teams to businesses, everything in between. Now the durability changes quite a bit on these. We have durability for CAD Cut products, and these are based on years. They'll give it to you, say, like I'll throw out a specific product, our Series 5000, which is a single color calendared material for CAD Cut, and the Series 5000 has a 6-year outdoor durability. This means that in normal conditions outside for the weather, the sunlight, UV exposure, and everything else, it's going to last about 6 years on the vehicle or the building or wherever they're putting that product. So we may want to take a look at the durability of the specific product before we process and make a project for a certain customer so that we can make sure that we're getting the right product to them. Now the CAD Cut materials, they don't need any special protectorant or anything on that to increase their durability. The print and cut products, we want to add another laminate to the top of it, or we can add a laminate to the top of it that will increase the outdoor exposure that that product can have. What that means is I can put this another layer onto it after I've done my print process before I cut it, and that'll provide UV protection and scratch resistance to the print that's on there and increase the durability of it. Now, perceived value, in between the two, obviously, if I have a multi-layer vinyl where I'm using 3 or 4 colors and I'm stacking it together, that multitude of colors in there is going to give a higher perceived value to the customer, whereas the cost to us is not a huge amount difference in between doing a single color. It's a much more labor-intensive process, though, because I have to do the individual layers and stack them on each other and register it and make sure that it's going correctly. Oh, sorry about that. I had something pop up there. So the perceived value, the more colors I put into it, the more I'm going to get cost-wise from, because the customer will see that it's a much higher value project for them or product. Whereas with the print and cut materials, it's no more labor-intensive to add more color. I can increase the colors in whatever design program I'm doing, and I can add that to it, and it didn't cost me any more ink, it didn't cost me any more time, there was no more labor to it, and I can get a much higher value off of that project than I can for just a straight CAD cut product. So perceived value can mean a lot to your customer and bring a bigger return to you. The bottom line, offer both of them. If I have both in there, I have the processes available in my shop or wherever I'm at, I want to offer both of them so that I can gain from each one of those markets. If I only had a cutter, well, I'll use that cutter to the maximum extent possible, doing single cut items, single color items, and then I'll offer another variation with multiple colors to my customers so that I can try to get more from that and the perceived value for it. And I advance to the next slide. There we go. Hey, that timing was a lot better. So while this slide is up here, we're going to go to the next question and ask how many of you are currently using print films, say something that you would use with a Roland VersaCam or something along that line. So that poll will come up here, and we'll give it a couple of minutes. And while that's coming up, we'll kind of talk about the different machinery that you can use for both of these. I'm sure many of you out there on the 58% that we had for CAD Cut films, many different cutters on the market. Want to take a look at which ones are best suited for you in your projects. Maybe you're doing just single CAD Cut stuff and running it all day long at GX24 or GCC Expert. But when you get into the print and cut materials, big price difference in equipment. You can get into a single cutter for anywhere from $400 up, but when you get into the print and cut area, it's much more expensive. You're talking $13,000 and up.
Okay, Stephen, we do
have some results.
We do. We have 31% that's using print vinyls and 69% that's not.
Okay. So we can see that there's a big difference between those two. We've got 31% are using it and 69% aren't. Out of that 69%, I'm kind of curious, and maybe we'll throw up another question later on if we have time, to see who's using both. Because a lot of shops that I go to and a lot of customers I talk with, they'll start out with the CAD Cut only option. They'll get into that small cutter for a very small investment, and they'll build up their customer base on that, doing the single CAD Cut or doing multi-layers of projects, and then offering more and more and more until they get to the point that they can afford to get into the print and cut version. So we'll see if we have time at the end to add that question. So right now you see on your screen, cast versus calendared materials. What is vinyl made of? Vinyl is made of a polychlorinated vinyl, a bunch of different products in there, a monomeric base, and basically they make this kind of mix. You can see in the top picture there, they're mixing it up. It's like in a one of those KitchenAid mixers that you've got, but on a much larger process. They mix these chemicals together, and it forms almost a dough or a slurry based on if they're going to do a cast product or a calendared product. So the bases of the vinyls are very close to the same in between the two. With cast materials, though, we're going to be taking that slurry before it gets into a doughy kind of product and keep it more in the liquid state, and they will pour this slurry onto a webbing that will allow it to just take that shape, and it runs it through a dryer, and it's not stretching it out, it's not pressing it down or anything like that, but as it runs on this web through the drying ovens, it will get all the solvents out of the material and form that vinyl film, and it's in that shape that's on the webbing film. So you can see with a cast material, there's no stretching, there's no pushing, there's no forcing it into a shape, and the vinyl is relaxed at the shape that it has right there. We'll take it off that webbing and put it onto a roll, and when it's on the roll, it's ready to have a liner applied to it, adhesives, or any other finishing process. Much smaller batches when we do a cast product than with a calendared product, so they can do color matching a little bit easier, they can do specialty films a little bit easier. It's a little bit more expensive of a process to do, so cast materials are typically more expensive, and they can get it a much, much thinner material doing it this way and maintain consistency and control. The biggest advantage with the cast material, though, is that a cast material will retain its size, shape over the period of its entire life. It hasn't been forced into a shape. It's been allowed to settle and relax into that. So over time, that material is not going to try to go back to its original shape, which is where we come into the calendared material. Calendared materials will mix it into that little mixer there, and you can see the bottom picture where they've got some rollers going on there. And once they've got that dough made, they'll put it through a series of rollers that will force it into its shape. So it keeps pressing it down and rolling it through, sort of like if you're making dough for a pie crust or something like that using a rolling pin or doing cookies or something like that. And it's forcing it into this shape, this final thickness of material that we want. So the material has a little bit of a memory. And over time, it's going to want to try to contract back to that original shape that it had before it was pressed and processed into this thinner material. So with calendared materials, over time, you're going to see a little bit of shrinking in on it. Say if I were to cut a material that's a calendared material and put it onto a vehicle, and I was able to look at it over a period of time, over a year or two, I'm going to see that it's pulled back in towards the center of it. This is most easily seen when you cut a decal, and if you haven't weeded it all out and you're just stacking them up and waiting for later on, and if you forget about it and come back 6-7 months later, you'll see that it's contracted in a little bit from that cut line and from the edges of the liner that it's on, because it wants to go back to that original shape. So what's the pros and cons of each one of these? Well, with the cast materials, some of the pros on it is that we can get some specific colors, much less expensive to do specific colors, and it's easier to provide a wider variety of them because we don't have to do it in as big of a batch. So it's a cost-effective on that. But the actual process for making it is more expensive because we are doing it through specialty ovens, and it has to be allowed to settle into the webbing properly and everything. So it's a little bit more controlled of a process there. Another pro for the cast material is it won't shrink back. It's not going to have that memory that it wants to go back to a shape. So for projects, say like a vehicle wrap or applications where it's crucial that I'm going over a curve or into a convex area, and I don't want the material to retract back to its original shape, this cast material is going to be much more stable over time. So easier to make a color with a cast material, more cost-effective to make colors and specialty films with a cast material. It is a more expensive product because of the manufacturing process. It doesn't go back on memory like a calendared film will. So some of the pros and cons of cast. And now on the calendared films, the pros of this is it's much less expensive on the materials. We're talking a large difference between a cast material and a calendared material. So expense-wise, it's easier for us to justify the cost of a calendared film, and we have to take a look at the product that we're putting it on. If I'm doing some coroplast yard signs for a local tree landscaping company or just a yard landscaping company, and I want to keep my cost very, very low because it's a sensitive project, well, I can go with that calendared film, and I'm not worried about a little bit of contraction on it for the lettering that's on that coroplast sign, because nobody's really going to see the difference in that, even if they have it out for years and years and years. But if I'm going to be applying that same calendar film, to a vehicle, and I'm going over a channel to where I have to force it into that convex area on the vehicle, if I use a calendared film, over time it's going to want to pull back out of that. And if anybody's ever gone up and taken a close look at a vehicle wrap, you will see this whether they use a cast or calendared film on that vehicle. Just the other day I went up to one that was in the parking lot at my local mall and saw a really nice wrap that was on the vehicle, but as I got closer, I could see where the edges of the films that they put on there, the printed vinyl on there, it was definitely a calendared film because it had pulled back and you could see it had left an adhesive residue on the vehicle, and things didn't match up correctly anymore. So you really have to take a look at the job. How long is the material designed to last? And what do we want to get out of the job and what the customer is looking for on the job prior to us deciding what material we're going to use. Any long-term project, anything that we're going to be having crucial measurements with, we're going to go with the cast films, and just about everything else we're going to be looking at the calendared films. So while this next slide's coming, here's the next slide. There we go. So let's talk about some of the CAD Cut only materials from Arlon. It's kind of why you guys are here. So Series 5000. Series 5000 is a calendared film. We're looking at on that one of a 6-year outdoor durability, 39 colors. This is your everyday bread and butter. Somebody comes in, they want a grand opening sign, they want big letters, grand opening this Thursday, using a calendared film onto a blank banner all day long. Doing small decals for that baseball team that we were talking about. Series 5000 is a great product for that. It's going to cover probably at least 60 to 70% of the projects out there that you can provide to your customers. Whereas anything that you're going to be hitting into the specialty areas where we need that Series 2100 that's next on there, that's a cast material, and then we go back to the differences between cast and calendared and what they can do for us. The Series 2100 there, you're looking at a 10-year outdoor durability for black and white, 8 years for colors, so any of your red, blacks, you can see a couple of them there in the picture there. And then we also have that in over 74 colors. So you can see there's a large difference in between the cast and the calendared again, and the color offerings. As we talked about before, it's very, very evident when looking at these two products. Then we get down into the Series 2500. These are your translucent films. If you look at the top picture there with the PNC banking, that's a translucent film. So anything that's a backlit sign that we want to be able to have it shine through at night with a light source behind it, this is the product that we're going to use for that. It's more of a sign-specific, sign industry-specific material that unless you're doing something that's backlit or you want to get into the Lexan faced signs that you see in front of a lot of the strip malls where they have a light source inside of it, this would be the material that they're using on that. It's the 2500 cast translucent. So if you have an opportunity, you've got a lot of that business in your area and you're not already doing it, you've got a CAD cutter in your shop. We had 58% of everybody attending today is already saying that they do these types of CAD cut materials. This is another area you can get into and get more profit out of. When we get into the Series 4100, that's our calendar translucent. Same difference that we said before between cast and calendar, longevity, how long it's going to last on that substrate, if it's going to have any memory that it's pulling back from and everything, and how crucial is it on that sign. And then we've got all sorts of specialty films. You can see in the last two pictures on the slide there, we've got there's a frosted glass one on that corporate suite picture. That's a film that literally just looks like somebody had done a sandblast onto a window and gives it that frosted look. You can now take a film and CAD cut that with your cutter and apply it to the substrate, and it'll look like it was a sandblasted product. It's much less expensive to produce it this way, and it gets a very nice, fancy, high-end look for it. There's metallized, dazzlers, fluorescent, and then you can see the bottom picture there. That's our reflective. That's a ambulance, and you can do all the different reflective projects, say, for your emergency services, police, fire department, EMS, and those are also a high-ticket project that you can get quite a return on for the product that you're putting on there. So there's many of those different products available to you. Next slide's coming up here. We got our print and cut materials. All of them have the DPF in front of it, so I'm going to kind of skip that. The 4560, the GTX, the G stands for glossy. The X is the Aeroscape technology on it. This is probably my favorite product out of all the Arlon offering for the print and cut medias. You can use 4560 GTX for just about everything. Unless it requires the cast material that has no memory to it, like I'm doing a vehicle wrap or something along that line, 4560 GTX is going to be the one I reach for almost every time on those projects, from coroplast signs to decals that are going on a vehicle to flat vehicle applications. I'm doing a fleet vehicle project, say like just a panel truck or something like that, where I don't have to worry about any convex or concave surfaces. I'm not going over a bumper. I'm not stretching across the hood. I'm just doing the flat panel sides of it. 4560 GTX will cover that project for me. So that's kind of an all-around product, and we're going to talk about that later on, and what you keep in inventory in your shop and how you can kind of fight the battle of having too many rolls of material and having a lot caught up in inventory and not using all of it. The next one here, DPF 8000, satin white. It goes on hard-to-stick surfaces. I've got a video that we're going to play towards the end of the webinar, and I've got a photograph. I'll see if I can switch to that photograph right now so you guys can see that. It'll come up here in a second. This is an absolutely amazing product. It will apply to almost anything. All your hard-to-stick surfaces, say I've got a concrete wall, I've got a brick wall. This picture that just came up here, this is a brick wall. I took this picture yesterday. It's at the Arlon booth at the ISA, International Sign Association Sign Expo that I'm at here in Las Vegas. And you can see how this material conformed to the brick wall itself. It's absolutely gorgeous to look at it. It looks like somebody painted it onto there. This stuff will stick to virtually anything. And I'm going to flip to the next picture in this one too, and that'll come up in a second. The second picture I took is a little harder to see it. It's in their booth there, and it'll come up in a second. It's a kayak. And they wrap a kayak with the DPF 8000 because with those certain types of plastic products out there, say like lawn chairs or this kayak or something like that, they're very, very hard to stick to surfaces, and DPF 8000 was designed specifically to go to these hard-to-stick-to surfaces and to conform to them properly. This is just a gorgeous project that they did there, and it's very amazing to see, especially firsthand, and be able to get your hands on it and look at it and feel it and everything. The next one on here is the DPF 313. This is a scrim banner. You can use this as a print product. You can also use it as a CAD Cut only product if you're doing, say, the Series 5000 that we talked about earlier, and I'm going to be making that grand opening banner that I used in the example and applying to that product. I can use the 313 as my base product to apply all of the cut lettering that I'm going to be doing. So that's the product for that. Sorry, I had a little glitch on my end here. The DPF 2400, again, this is a print material, 5mm reflective film. One of the amazing parts about this product here is, unlike many of the other manufacturers on the market that mix in their reflective base with the adhesive slurry on it, their reflective base is actually sandwiched behind the coating that's on this, and it's allowed to not be affected by the adhesive behind it. So when I'm applying this to a substrate, say a vehicle, it's not going to get me dead spots or burnout areas is what they call it, where the reflective has been pushed to the side by the application process, and it doesn't reflect properly from it. One of the biggest carriers of this is Disney Corporation. They do all the reflectives on the vehicles using the DPF 2400 because it has no dead. It's an absolutely fantastic product. DPF 6000 XRP, this is our wrap material. Remember, it's a cast vinyl. We talked about the difference between cast and calendared. Because it's a cast vinyl, it's going to be a superior product for the wrap projects. This is what I'll use on anything that's going to be a vehicle wrap that requires me to go over convex or concave surfaces. It doesn't have a memory. It's not going to be trying to stretch back to its original shape. So this one is by far the preferred choice for that. You want to match the laminate with the material. We talked about laminating them earlier so that we have protectorant on it for ultraviolet and for the scratch resistance on our prints. So we've got the 3420 as a calendar, matched calendar with our calendar product. So that's what I would use for, say, my 4560 up above, that all-around base material that I use. And the 3220 is what I'm going to use on the cast product whenever I'm working with the 6000 XRP, so that cast laminate with a cast film, they're going to expand and contract at the same ratio. And that's what we're looking for on it. Okay. Well, the next slide's coming up. We'll do our third question, and we'll see how quickly we can get that one up here. The third question is going to be, are you familiar with the Arlon products? Have you ever heard of them or used them? So if you're familiar at all with the Arlon products, please respond to that for us. Again, I can't stress enough using the correct product for the job that you're doing. Like I said, if I'm in critical areas where I know I don't want this material to kind of contract back, I'm going to use my cast products. And if I'm in an area where it's not so critical on it contracting back, that 4560 GTX or a straight calendar film like the Arlon 5000, those are going to be the products that I'm going to be using for those projects. So it looks like we got our poll results. They'll be coming up here.
Yes, we do have our results in. Looks like we have 11% that's familiar with the product and 89% that's not, that has never used it.
Okay. So we've got 11% are familiar with it, 89% are not familiar with it. Thank you for coming by and getting familiar with it today and seeing what it can do for you. I'm sure a lot of you that aren't familiar with it have been using some other products on the market. I think if you give the Arlon products a try, you'll be very pleased with the results on it. So, and hopefully today this has helped you out to see what's there. And we should have the next slide. There we go. How to set up for profit. The 80-20 rule. 80% of your jobs that you produce in your shop are run from about 20% of the inventory. I'm sure many of you are familiar with doing garments and using, say, like eco film on it. And I say time and time again, the 4 base colors that we use all the time are black, white, red, and navy blue, the top selling colors. That applies to not only heat transfer films, but also CAD Cut films. So you know that you've got all those colors, like maybe you bought some fluorescent green because you ran a job with it, and you ran that job and you haven't had any call for it, so you've got a roll sitting there. With the CAD Cut materials, it's a little bit harder to slim down that inventory. You have your base products that you use all the time, black and white, all the time. But with your print products, it's a lot easier to slim that down and kind of change that 80-20 rule there. If I'm going to be using just some core products all the time, I'm going to take a look at that 4560 GTX. That's the one that I'm going to be reaching for the vast majority of my projects. Sure, I could go with a little bit lesser expensive material, say like the 4560 just glossy, and not have that AirScape technology in it. But then that's another roll that I have to stock, another roll that I'm going to have behind my machinery or up on the wall or wherever. And I don't want to have all these rolls building up everywhere and wasting space and inventory on me. So you want to take a look at slimming that down. What I always recommend to people for the print end of it is 4560 GTX, the 313 banner material for your base banners, and then the 6000 XRP for anything that you need that cast material and you're, say, doing a vehicle application or something like that. So there's 3 base products that I can just always have on hand to make sure that I can meet any project that comes along. That's a great way to do that. And you can see 313, the 4560, and the 6000 there. Pick which one of the 4560 is right for your business. Maybe I have more customers that are asking for the matte, which is the MT or the MTX with the Airscape technology. The 4560 covers almost anything. The 3220 laminate can be used for anything. That's our cast laminate. I can put a cast laminate on a calendared material. But if we have the option, we're going to try to match up our cast with cast and calendared with calendar. So when you get into laminates, if you're only going to go with one, I would probably go, and you have cast products that you're using also, I would probably go with the cast laminate. But if we're using more of the calendared than anything else, you'll want to have both on hand. When you get into the cut-only products, we're going to be taking a look at their base colors, looking at your market, and keeping it slim to where you're not having the entire spectrum. If any of you are embroiderers out there, I'm sure you've gotten offers from the different companies to get our treasure chest or whatever they call it, that you'll get 1 or 2 spools of every single color that we offer. And I can tell you I've been to many shops and looked up on the wall, and they have this huge display of all these different spools of colors. And I ask them how often they use stuff, and they say, well, we use red, we use black, we use white, we use navy, we have a green, we have the base colors that they have on their machine, and they're using those all the time. They have all these spools that are taking up space. So you want to identify what is going to make the best profit for you and maintain your inventory slim. And then take a look at your specialty films after that. Do I have a market with the fire and EMS industries? Then I can take a look at some of the metal specialized films where I have a gold engine turn or something like that, and that can bring a big profit to you. So that's the 80-20 rule and looking at the different products in it. Now we're going to get a little bit more in depth on 2 of the products, and I've got a slide, and then I'm also going to show you a short video. It should be coming up here. And while this one's coming up, oh, no, we got it here. So we're going to talk about the 6000 XRP in depth a little bit for our vehicle application and wraps. It's got an Airscape technology. It's a wrap vinyl. It can be also purchased in a kit, so you can get it with the media and the laminate, matched laminate together, which is a significant savings. Very, very big savings over getting the 2 products separately and trying to keep inventory of both. So if you buy on the match kit, you're gonna be making a smarter decision there. If you look at the slide here, it's kind of showing you a basic application. If we've got a channel or a concave surface on that project that we're doing, the vehicle, I'm just going to bridge right over the top of the channel. We're going to apply that vinyl cold, and then we're going to push it into the corners cold also and get it into shape, and then we'll apply a little bit of heat to set it in there. With those cast materials, once I've got it in place, I add the heat, and that makes it stay in that shape forever. So it's a great product, great project that we've got there, and I'm trying to come up with a video here, so hopefully you'll see that on your side in just a second. And we're going to talk about the 6000 XRP a little bit. So here starts the video, and I'm probably going to have to talk through this because I don't think you guys will see the whole video here. All right, they're showing an overview of the vehicle right now, and I'll turn my volume down a little bit here. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Just an overview of the entire wrap on it. You can see how it looks really what they call wet on there, that it looks just smooth and glossy like it's been painted on in the final product. When you're applying these panels to the vehicle, you simply put it up there onto the vehicle. You're going to take your squeegee back and forth, and you can see how he's able to take that up and down and back and forth on the panel itself. You can use a hand to put it across. The Airscape technology makes this a great product, and that I have those bubbles in there. I can simply take a thumb or the squeegee and push them right out, and they're just going to move right out of there. When you look at the back of the product, it has almost a honeycomb kind of pattern to it that allows the bubbles to escape out towards the edges of the vehicle, or the edges of the material, and smooth right out. So a little bit of overview of the car again. And we're seeing a portion of the video here where he's pointing out some of the bubbles. He's kind of pressed down in between them so that they're smaller bubbles that he can work out, and now use his thumb just to press the rest of that air out. This is a repositionable material too. So when I put it on the vehicle or the panel truck or whatever I'm doing, if I can take it up and down several times until I get it into the position I want, where I'm happy with placement, and then I'll work out the different areas to get the bubbles in and out. Whenever you're squeegeeing it on, whenever you're putting this product onto the substrate, you want to work from the center out. So you'll see how he's going to tear it down here a little bit, and then he'll work from the center out, just nice sweeping strokes back and forth, and you can see that he's getting a real wet what they call the wet look, wet application on that. And like I said, repositionable. If I'm not happy with the result, pull it back down, set it back on there. Once the product is on there and in the place that we want it to stay, you can use some heat to set it, but over a period of time, this is going to become a permanent adhesive to that vehicle, and it's going to stay right where it's at. Anytime that you've got a channel like that concave or convex area that we looked at before, you're going to want to apply heat to get it to go into that. Especially, you'll see a picture, part of the video coming up here that's going to show around a handle, and you can see how it's pushed down into the grooves on the handle area. That you're going to want to keep that to have that relax into that area once you're done. He's talking about the concave surfaces, the little channels on the panels, and you can see some great close-up shots here showing just how that material wets out and goes into it. It's really, really fantastic to work with. All right, let's see how we're going here. So you guys get the idea of the 6000 XRP and how it works with a vehicle and an application. Let's go back to the PowerPoint presentation. Oops. I'm sorry, it's going to jump around here a little bit. I'm trying to pause that. And we're back to the presentation. And hopefully it'll come here. Let's do the next question on there while we're waiting for this to come up, and ask if anybody out there is doing car wraps. Car wraps is not necessarily a full vehicle wrap. A car wrap can be anything from a partial portion to where you're just doing a door or a hood to the entire vehicle itself. So if you're thinking, no, I don't do car wraps because I'm only doing just a little portion of it there, if you're putting a product onto a vehicle that is covering a certain portion of it, it's a partial wrap that's on that. Typically, these are only printed products, so they would not be a CAD Cut only. CAD Cut only, you're lettering a vehicle. So we've got our poll results here.
Okay, it looks like 5%.
Now.
Yeah, it looks like 5% of our audience is doing car wraps and 95% is not.
Okay, so 5% is doing car wraps and 95% not. It's a very small portion of it. If you're doing printed products at all and you have the opportunity to start looking into car wraps, it's a huge, huge market. Generally, you can expect to take whatever the cost of the wrap itself is and double that. That's what you're going to charge the customer. So you can make a significant amount of profit on these projects. So you can see a couple examples of full versus partial wraps. I'm going to talk a little bit now, and the slide will come up here in a second. It lags a little bit, about the DPF 8000 in depth on it. That's that product I showed you the picture of the brick wall earlier. It's just an absolutely amazing product that will stick to almost anything. You can cold install it, and when you get it on there, apply a little bit of heat to it, and it's going to stay on the surface. Very high-tack, permanent adhesive, and like I said, any surface, brick, plastic, whatever, it will stick to it. And we're going to go to another video here showing that, so you guys will see the video here in just a second. And you're going to see them applying this product to a brick wall and a cement wall. So we'll look at that a little bit here. There's the video coming up for you. And hopefully you guys can see this. I'll maximize the view on my end so that hopefully it'll make it a little bit bigger for you. You should see a big Marilyn Monroe print that they've got it on a brick wall. And I'm getting some significant lag here. Okay, so now you can see it. We'll do some close-ups on this, and you can see how this really takes on the surface that it's being applied to. To watch it going on, and they're doing some here at the show right now. If you've got any opportunity, any customers at all that can use a product like this, it's a fantastic to work with vinyl. It's easy to apply. You see him just doing sweeping motions across to get the initial tack on there. And then once it's on there, he'll apply a little bit of heat with the heat gun, and you can really get down into those grooves. He's using a product called a Roly Pro. When he gets to that, right now he's just got a felt squeegee to get it on there, and then he'll take the heat gun and heat it up as he's going with the Roly Pro and push it right into those grooves and make it permanently on that surface to take on the full shape of whatever the substrate is. So he's got the heat gun, he's heating it up. So the surface could have been cold to start with, and just using that Roly Pro to go right across there. I've seen people use a Roly Pro. They've used foam rollers. There's many different products out there to do this, but that Roly Pro is just a handy little tool to put it in there. And you can see right off the bat, right around the nose area there, that it's just fully taken on the texture and the shape of that wall. Really, really easy to work with. So I'm not going to go through too much on this. If you want to look at these videos full length on your computer later on, they're both on Arlon's YouTube channel. So we'll escape out of that, and you can see it's Arlon Graphics on YouTube, and that is their channel, so you can see the rest of that there and get more in depth on it. And now we'll go back to the PowerPoint presentation, and we are at the end slide. I wanted to offer up some time here to be able to answer questions and to see what people are looking to get more information on or anything. Do we have any questions yet?
Yes, Stephen, we do have a question. They want to know, how hard is it to remove after the promotion is over? Any special product that would be needed to remove it?
Well, for the different products, the question is how to remove the material on after it's been applied to whatever substrate. Say, like, I'll start out with just a CAD Cut only product. If I'm going to be removing it, say, from a Coroplast sign, most of the time you can just get your fingernail or a little squeegee. That we've got a thing called the chiseler that's got a very defined edge on it, or you can get the plastic scrapers and you can pull all that up and you can remove it off of there. You'll want to use there's a rapid remover product that we have that'll help get rid of all that adhesive that is left behind. So you can use that also. When you get into the vehicle wrap applications, or say like the DPF 8000 there, you're going to want to use heat to loosen up the adhesive in the product as you're removing it. So say I've got a vehicle that's coming in that I'm going to be wrapping, and it's already got a wrap on it. I'm going to need to remove that previous wrap, and I'll take my heat gun and I'll heat up the edges till I get it nice and smooth on there and it's loosening up a little bit, and then I'll slowly start to remove the product all the way across. You're going to have to clean and prep the surface after that's done. Remove any adhesive that was on the substrate, and also prior to applying a new product to it, we want to make sure it's dirt and debris free and that there's no residue on there, so that my new product is going to adhere to it properly. Hopefully that answered the question for whoever posted up. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, we do have a question. Another question. They want to know, do we have a product for the use on boats?
A product, excuse me?
Use on boats?
I didn't hear the question there. Oh, to use on boats. Okay.
Yes.
The question is, do we have a product to use on boats? For boats, you can use the 6000 XRP. It is actually mil-spec, military specification for both submergence and also for pressure washing. I have had some people that have switched over to the DPF 8000 though, because depending on the boat application that you're working with, it might be one of those monomer plastics that is very, very hard for a product to stick to. So if you're looking at a surface that's potentially is very, very hard to adhere to, you would switch over to the DPF 8000, and that's going to stick and stay on just about anything. Hopefully we answered the question there.
Okay, that does look like it wraps up our questions.
Oh, wow. I figured we would have a whole bunch. Okay. Well, I guess if there's no more questions, I kind of anticipated a little bit more there. Well, we'll finish out the webinar then, a little earlier than I'd anticipated. You can contact me with any questions that you have, of course, imprintables.com, 800-347-0068. I will say that we are having a front and center campaign. We have that every month at Imprintables Warehouse with a different product. This month we are featuring some of the Arlon products. So please, you'll get an email after the webinar, and we will give you more information on that and what the current discount is for this month on the Arlon product. And check back with us every month to see what the current special is. You can also reach me directly at 518-630-6655, and always on my email at steven@imprintables.com. So I think I've covered everything on there, and I'll give it another minute. Any more questions on anything? And I don't.
We have one more that came in. We have one more that came in. We have someone who wants to know if we have a sales office in Canada.
The question is, do we have a sales office in Canada? We don't currently have a sales office in Canada. Stalls in Canada is there for many of our other products. We are looking to possibly have some of the Sign Division products up there, but I don't have anything up there currently. All right.
And that looks like all the questions.
Oh, the chat there's got something going on. That's it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, I thank everyone for their time, and I appreciate everybody coming out. Like I said, as always, give me a call, 518-630-6655, or shoot me an email. There will be one coming out after the webinar to tell you about this current month's promotion. And please send me any questions for information, or if you want samples, I can get that out to you also. All right. Thank you, everyone, for attending.